Hello my wonderful, wonderful people, and welcome to this special little vlog. This time you won't get any new footage, so no footage from Siem Reap and no footage yet from Phnom Penh, where I am right now. But because I haven't talked to you during my exploration in Siem Reap and all of the adventures I had with all of the temples, I thought it would be a good idea to just do a video about that. About things I've learned, about everything that I experienced, and maybe give you some tips for your own visit here. So, yeah, let's start. So, normally I don't do this. Normally I just talk to you. But for this special little thing, because I don't think it will be that long, but who cares, I made a few notes so I don't forget anything, because I tend to forget things that I want to tell you. But this vlog is very important to me because one of the main things I've noticed, and that the hostess at my hotel told me about, is that a lot of tourists are not visiting the things you should visit when you're there. And that surprised me like a lot, because I thought that's why you come to Cambodia. I thought you come here to see the temples, and not just one, but to see a lot of them, because they're all different as you have seen, and to see more about the countryside and things like that. But no. So this is the first thing I had to learn about Cambodia. It is not as cheap as you might think for you as a tourist. It's not expensive, but it's not like very, very cheap. At least not if you want to see things. If you're into like partying and you just want to do that, there's a pub street in the city, Siem Reap, and you can get beer for like $1. So yeah, partying is easy and you won't spend that much, and you can find good hotels that are not that expensive. And if you're into that kind of like vacation, it's fine. But that was never why I went there. I mean, for me it was always the case that I wanted to go there because of the temples, because I wanted to see them, because I grew up with, and yeah, that's not a good, it's kind of bad at the same time, but I grew up with Tomb Raider, and some temples were used for the movies. Ideas behind these temples were used in the games, so of course I wanted to see them. I mean, they look different than you would think, because they're way less they're way less raidable, if you can say that, but you've seen the footage. But they're still beautiful, and each and every one of them is different and has a different story and is dedicated to a different god sometimes. So Siem Reap as itself, as the city is not huge. There's not like a lot to do, but as I said, you have the pub street where you can go as a tourist, where you also have all of the touristy things, so massage parlors and souvenir shops and everything you think of when you think of touristy things. So for me the most important things were the temple. All of them. I wanted to see as many as I possibly could. So for the Angkor temple themselves, it works like this. You go to you buy tickets for either 1 day, 3 days, or I think you can buy one for 7 days. And 1 day is $37, 3 days is $62, so you more or less pay less than you would for 2 days, and you get a 3rd day free. And I have forgotten how many it is for 7 days. But I think 3 days is a good thing, because I used all 3 of my days, which I didn't thought so at the start, but I always knew that I would use 2 days, so I of course took the 3 days, because it was cheaper than buying like 1 ticket each. There's 2 tours you can do. One tour is like a wider tour, and one tour is like the inner tour where you also have Angkor Wat and Angkor Thom, which are like the main temples, especially Angkor Wat itself, you might have heard of. For the wider tour, that's the first exploration video I posted. We went even further, as you have seen. We went to a temple that is not really part of that tour normally, but it was worth it, absolutely. So my hotel helped me by getting me the tuk-tuk driver for each day, and he took me to on the wide tour and on the smaller tour. So he just drove me to each temple, and then I got out of the tuk-tuk, went there by myself, looked at everything, filmed, got back to my driver, and he drove me to the next temple. Which for me was perfect, because that meant I could explore everything on my own. I had my own time, I could take as much time as I wanted or be back in a flash if something wasn't like that interesting to me. What you can also do is you can get a tour guide that will accompany you on all of these tours and tell you things about each and every temple. There are like signs and sometimes explanations about the temples themselves, so you can read it up yourselves, but you can also take someone and they will explain things. So I've seen a lot of little smaller groups that had like one tour guide that explained everything to them. So you can do it on your own, you can have a little group, whichever way you prefer to do this. But if you want to have someone with you who tells you things about the temples, you can do that as well. I myself liked doing it on my own because I could just do it in my own speed, and the other good thing was simply I could just film without having anybody talking over the film. So that was nice. See, good thing I have my little list, because coming back to the ticket, you can't give it to someone else if you were thinking that, because they will take a picture and the ticket itself will have your picture on it. And the ticket will be checked before you enter the area that is Angkor. So there's the area where there are a lot of the temples and you can't enter it without a ticket. So if you want to go anywhere else by car, you would have to drive around if you don't have a ticket anymore. So there's a checkpoint at the start of this, and they will check your ticket at each and every one of the temples. So, just so you know. So on the first day, when we went to the temple that was farther away, you could see, and I could see, all the people living in the countryside. And this was also very eye-opening, because it shows you and myself why the government has these ticket prices, because there's still a lot of people, when you're looking at the countryside, that are poor. And as I talked to locals and as I talked to the people at the hotel, they told me that's exactly why they made the ticket prices the way they are. So on one hand, they made them a little bit more expensive than they were before, because the money will be used for people in these areas and to build up these areas and to help them and to make sure that kids can go to school and that they don't have to work in the part of the day where they don't go to school, because they only go like half a day to school, most of them. That's at least how I understood it. My tour guide told me on the third day. But the other thing is, so yes, one day ticket is more expensive than it has been before COVID, but they also want you to see more of the country and to do more things there. So that's why they gift you a day if you buy the 3-day ticket, because you only pay as much as you would normally do for 2 days, even less, and you get a 3rd day on top. So I think that the idea is not that bad, because a lot of people apparently only want to see Angkor Wat and that's it. And so this way they might see more. And of course this also means that at each and every temple there's like a as if there's a little shopping area, a little souvenir area. Chances are higher that you buy something there, that you help the economy, that you buy food, drinks, or any souvenirs, so you help the people that are working there as well. And each temple has a lot of people that take care of like the grounds, that make sure that the plants are fine, that make sure that there's no leaves around, so they were sweeping, and you have all the guides that are there, you have security guards. So this whole thing has a lot of people working there and a lot of people depending on you to go there. And yeah, so that's just a little thought on why it might be the way it is. The temples on my first day were all extremely empty. The second temple you've seen in the video was one of my favorites because it's huge. It's almost as huge as Angkor Wat itself. And there was almost no one. It was so easy to film there. And it was so wonderful to walk around, to enjoy the thing, to get everything in, to experience it, because there were almost no tourists, so you had it almost to yourself, because most people don't go there. So I'd always tell you, if you go there, do at least both tours. You don't have to go to the far temple if you don't want to, but at least do both tours. On my second day, I explored the inner route, if you can call it that, so the inner temples, and we started at 4:30 in the morning and went to Angkor Wat to see the sunrise. And at first I didn't want to have a guide with me, because I thought, you can do it on your own. But you might be able to imagine how dark it is at 4:30, because we wanted to see the sunrise, and the sunrise started at like, I think around 6 or 5:30 or something. So it was pitch black, and you had to go to the temple itself first. So the tuk-tuk driver lets you off at the gates. There's like the guard that makes sure you have your ticket, and then you have to walk in the darkness to the entrance part of the temple. And at one point I was like, oh no, okay, the next guide that asks you if you want to have a guide, you'll ask how much it is, and then you probably will take it. And it was 18 bucks, and I said, okay, yeah, let's do this, because I simply thought I don't want to do this in the dark alone. And it was a very good idea to do it this way. First of all, because he was able to have the perfect place for me to film, and he was able to show me the perfect places to take pictures and to film the sunrise and everything like that, and he told me things about the temple that I didn't know beforehand. And because Angkor Wat is so full of tourists, I wasn't able to film that much anyway, so having someone with me who explained the history and the religious ideas behind this temple was wonderful. I couldn't have filmed as much as I wanted anyways, because I don't like having strangers on my camera roll, because they didn't ask to be on my film, on my vlog, so that's the reason I don't have a problem with strangers. But I always think, hey, what if someone doesn't want to be in a vlog of someone else? I can't ask everybody, hey, I just filmed you, is that okay? Hey, I just filmed you, is that okay? So I try to film without having people in it. As Angkor Wat is the most known temple out of all of them, and we tend to call like all of the temples Angkor Wat, which is wrong, because only this temple is Angkor Wat, but the whole area is called Angkor. Wat is the temple part. So this one is the temple I'd say is the best kept one. So this one, a lot of the temples in the inner route or in the inner part are being restorated, but Angkor is the one that is like the most, well, the well-kept one. After Angkor Wat, we went to Angkor Thom, which is like, there's a bunch of temples there. And this was once the capital of Cambodia, when Cambodia was like, had different borders and it was in the middle. As most countries, borders change, other countries take things over, so Cambodia nowadays is a lot smaller than it was like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Here you can find a few different temples. The one that might have stood out to you is the one with the monkeys. And to be quite honest, I'm not scared of lizards, I'm not scared of spiders. There's a lot of little spider webs in the temples, so I took a picture of one really close. I think they're jumping spiders, but I'm not sure. But she was really cute in her little hole and looking out. I'm not really scared of bugs. There's one living in this apartment, like this big. It's a cockroach. I'm not going to step on it. I don't have anything big enough to catch it. That's made of plastic, because I'm not going to use anything that's glass or porcelain, because I'm pretty sure I will break it. So sometimes you just go ooh, because you see it and it's quite big. But I don't mind. But the monkeys I was wary of, because monkeys can turn on you and they can be quite, let's say, mischievous. And there were signs everywhere, beware of the monkeys, so it's not just in my head, so yeah. The temple that was probably the most important one to me in this part of the trip was the To Prom temple, which its exterior was used in parts in the first Tomb Raider movie. So if you've seen the pictures on Instagram of myself, you've seen the big tree growing out of the temple. Yeah, that was used for the movie. So that was also one of the temples that was where there were more visitors, a lot more visitors, especially this place where I took the picture. That was like a long line, and not everybody knew why everyone was taking a picture there. So it's a cool place and it looks good with a big tree in the back. But I don't think everybody knew why this place was more special than some of the other places where there were trees growing out of the temple. And this is one of the few temples in this area that is like overgrown by nature. A lot of them are not. A lot of them you see moss and you see that the stones fell down, because that happens. But this is one of the few where you really see nature taking over and big trees growing out of it. And I love this mix between the old ancient temple and nature just getting the place back. If you want to see those pictures, well, the selfie is not on Tumblr, but I started to upload the first temple pictures to Tumblr. So if you don't have Instagram and you don't follow me there, which is fine, you can go to my Tumblr and see the pictures there. As far as I know, you don't have to like subscribe to it, you don't have to log in, you can just see them on my blog. So there's no text, it's just pictures. So enjoy those. After I had the 2 days of tuk-tuk adventures, my hotel hostess, who I'm still very, very thankful for. She was the nicest person ever. She took care of me. She made sure I had breakfast on the day where we left at 4:30. So I had food with me. She helped me find things I wanted to look at. She made sure that I had the tuk-tuk driver, and she got me my tour guide to see the waterfall, the reclining Buddha, which I didn't film because I still feel that's inappropriate to film there, but I filmed my way down. So if you see my little bare feet walking down the stairs, that's where the reclining Buddha was. It was a huge statue. I took pictures and I will post them, but I didn't film because you can hear prayer, you can hear other people. That's something I don't know why, I kind of feel that it's inappropriate. So my driver had to drive me there, which is quite far. You can't take a tuk-tuk. You have to take a car because it's too far out to take a tuk-tuk. It was, I think, 2 hours there almost. So we got into the national park. You have to buy a ticket, which costs you, I think, 20 bucks. I think it was 20 bucks. And then you can go into the park. The street was very interesting. And I'd say you can drive there, but you can't really walk there. And if you want to hike through it, because it's a mountain also, you should have a guide, because there are no, I couldn't see any official hiking trails. So if you want to do that, get a guide that will show you the way up, but I'm pretty sure there's no real hiking trails there. But you will walk enough anyways, because going up to the reclining Buddha, going to the Thousand Linga temple, which is which, if you've seen, it's a river, and they carved the linga, which is the script, into the riverbed. So you see the really nice turquoise, very small pool, which is the spring of this river. So if you look closely, you can see like the fresh water bubbling up, and then it flows into the riverbed, and they carved these scripts into the riverbed, and so the water flows over it. And it's very special water. It's the water they used also for the temples. So from there we went to the waterfall, which was also beautiful, and there were a lot of locals there. So this time there were more people, but most of them were locals. But I have to say that I think that every time we left a place, there came a lot of tourists. So because we started our trip really early, this one wasn't that early, we started at I think 8. So we were like an hour or half an hour before everyone else. So all the time when we left a place, tourists came, which was good for me. So the locals used the top pool, and I was able to go down and use the big bottom pool of this waterfall to go swimming myself. The water was extremely cold, really cold, and there were tiny fish in the water that nibbled at my feet. Not a big fan of that, but when you walk around and not stand in one place, then it's fine, then they won't eat you. After the waterfall, we took a special trip, because as always I want to see everything. In this tour I wanted to see everything, and so we didn't go back down the road we came from, but we went over the mountain, kind of, and we went to Beng Mealea, probably said that wrong, sorry, which this one was even more taken over by nature, and a lot of it is broken down, a lot of it is crumbled, and there was like this wooden walkway you had to go on, because you can't really go through the temple anymore because most of it is sadly crumbled. But this was also used, I think it was used like as a blueprint for one of the temples in Tomb Raider. And this one was so pretty. So, as I said, I love the mix between the old temple and nature taking over, and this one was even more taken over by nature than the other one. So yeah, and there were even less people than in most of the other temples, because it's so far out. But when the government changed the tickets for Angkor Wat, they included this one. So if you've paid for 3 days or whatever, you can go into this one as well for free. You don't have to pay extra, which is also nice. I think not a lot of people will go there because, as I said, it's farther away and you have to have a car to do it. But I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was exploring these things was So great. And I love the jungle, I love the nature around it. The only thing I don't like about all of this is the possibility of being bitten by mosquitoes. It sometimes happens if there's water by, and a lot of these temples are surrounded by water, or I have pools nearby. Most of them man-made, which is incredible. But yeah, I am not good with the mosquito bites. They get really big and look really ugly. But everything else, I love the nature, I love being around these things, and yeah, it was wonderful. And the last trip I took with my tour guide was the farthest, because we had to drive for 4 hours there and 4 hours back. So we were driving, he was driving a lot, I was in the back seat, and at a certain point I just fell asleep. But on that tour I've seen two things that were like really special, and I think a lot of tourists won't see because it is this far off. So I decided to do it because of two things. One, because I wanted to see them, and two, because I wanted to show them to you. So the first stop we had on this tour was the Pol Pot house. So this was the house where he lived. And as you could see, it was surrounded by this lake, so it was strategically very well placed, because people had, there's only one way to get to this house, so he was kind of safe there. But yeah, this was special because here I only met local people, most of them older, and for them this place probably means a lot. But you could feel that these people had a special connection to it. The house itself is not like, oh, like totally mind-blowing, but the history is important, and you as a tourist have a lot of text you can read, you can find out more about the person and about what happened. And I don't know about you, but there's a lot of things that I was not taught in school about Asian history. So I'm not a history teacher, I have never studied history. If you want to know more, please look it up, please read up on it. I don't want to say any more because I'm pretty sure I will explain something wrong. So, and yeah, last but certainly not least, I went to Prasad Preach Vihar. I have no clue if that was right, I'm really sorry. This is the temple that was on top of a mountain. And not only was it on top of a mountain, but this mountain is right at the border to Thailand. So once you're up there, which so we drove all the way there, and then you go to the little tickets booth and buy your ticket if you're a tourist. If you're not a tourist, you don't have to buy tickets to any of the temples, which I think is good because these are still religious places. So people go there and they still pray. So if you're a tourist, you buy your ticket to the temple, so you're allowed to go into the temple. And this is something everybody has to pay for, you pay for the ride up the mountain. So you can either take a motorbike, a scooter, or if you're more people, you can take like a car. And so as I was by myself, my tour guide stayed at the foot of the mountain. I took the motorbike up, which was quite interesting because the last few meters were very steep, and going up was interesting because I thought we might have to just go up off the bike and push it up because the poor thing was like huffing and puffing. But it was even worse when we went down, because then it suddenly felt like a roller coaster because you could look like this. Good thing I like roller coasters. I don't like heights, but I don't mind roller coasters, so I was fine. But yeah, so you're being driven up and then you walk to the temple, which is not that far. And the temple itself has like 5 different floors. So you walk up stairs and then there's one building, then you walk up some more, there's another building, and yeah, you could, from there you can, if you look down, you can see Thailand and you can see Cambodia, which was a weird feeling, and my phone even thought I was in Thailand. So apparently the mobile is stronger from Thailand than it is from Cambodia up there. And the temple itself was, as all of them are, beautiful. The view was breathtaking, and my feet hurt. Yeah. But you've seen the footage. I think it was worth it going there and driving there. So I'm really happy. So yeah, that's everything I've written down. So as I said, I talked to my hostess at the hotel, and we were talking exactly about this, about the fact that tourists just come there and suddenly see that everything is really expensive, because taking the driver to these two things was not cheap. So they don't do anything, they just stay in the city, and they are only there for like 3 days, and then they go to Vietnam, and that's it. So they never really experience the country itself and the history itself, and that's sad. And I myself was happy to do this because it brought me a lot, so I didn't mind doing any of this and seeing the temples and sharing them with you, and like buying food at a stall or buying something to drink at one of the temples and things like that. I can't really take a lot with me back, so that's something I had to skip on, but that's also fine. So I hope I made sense. I hope I don't come off insensitive. I normally don't talk about topics like this because I always feel like the internet is like a mind trap and you will get into so much trouble if you say something wrong. But in this case, I think it's important to talk about this. So yeah. And because this is a whole talky video, I think less people will watch it anyway, so I think we're good. So as I did with the last video, I'm going to do it here as well. I will leave the number of my tour guide down there, so if you ever come to Siem Reap and you want to go on a tour, send him a WhatsApp. He has WhatsApp, Line, you can add him, you can ask him if he's free and how much it will cost. So he was great. So I leave that down there, and I will leave the name of my hotel and the trip advisor link down there, because I think I have never been treated this well in any hotel. And I mean, and here it felt like family? I can't explain it, but I was so happy. So this is one of the few things where I leave everything in the description down below. So if you're interested, if you're ever here, why not give it at least a look? So because I'm talking to you right now, I'm doing my little spiel at the end. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Oh, comment as well. I'm so sorry. I'm tired. It's getting late already, and yeah. So from tomorrow on, we're going to explore Phnom Penh. I did it a little bit today, but not too much. But we will get more into that tomorrow, and we'll see when that vlog will come out. But until then, see you. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great week, and I love you.